It takes a lot, and it took a lot. Now it's great because I get to have a reward. I get to go in the cage. Like I tell everybody who's at the gym, the cage is the easy part. We do the hard stuff in the gym. We're working. But it's nice because you're in a team and everything's together and stuff like that. But that's the hard part. Yeah. And when I started, I just trained because I didn't want to go out in the cage and not be ready. So I just put my head down in the sand and trained for like a year and a half. Just couldn't get me off the mat at least 3 times a day. Train intense, like running outside and drilling and stuff like that. And so I could just be ready. But no, it's intense. Like today they were coming at my head. I was like, I just fought, guys,
Yeah.
Ease up on the punches a little bit, but I'm coming at their head too. So it's fair game.
Welcome to the Success Journey Show. Let's travel together through the lives of individuals on the road to success.
All right, travelers. Welcome back to another episode of the Success Journey Show. Marlon and myself, we are here with a very, very special guest, man. We are honored to have Myla Hill here with us today. And some of you guys are like, man, who's Myla Hill? Let me tell you, by the time you get done with this interview, man, you guys are going to be all looking her up, searching her here, finding out who's she connected to, all those different things, right? We're so excited to just really be talking with her about her journey. So without further ado, Myla, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the Success Journey Show. How are you today?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great. Happy to be here.
It's an honor, true honor, man, to have you here with us today. Why don't you start off by just sharing with our traveler just a little bit about yourself, and then we'll dive into the full story.
Yeah, so I'm Myla Hill. I'm from Orlando, Florida, and I'm a mixed martial arts fighter, so a cage fighter. I know I probably don't look it, but I am. I promise.
Listen, when you said that, Myla, I have a lot of respect for you because during the pandemic, my sons and we all enrolled into MMA, right?
Awesome.
So they were learning, and then the guy was like, "Hey, man, you're the father, man. Why don't you come out to some of the classes, and you can learn a couple days a week." Let me tell you, I worked out a lot in my past, right? But I have never had a workout where my hips are just like completely shot, my lower back, man, my arms, everywhere was hurting. So, man, I appreciate just everything you do in this space.
Oh, thank you.
So let's go back. Like what, like you said, people look at you and say, "Oh man, really? Really? Is he the fighter? Like, come on now, what is that?" Walk us through this journey. Like, how did you get to the point of being even interested in being in the cage?
So I think I grew up at an interesting time where it was before kind of the big boom of MMA and things like that. Right. So I'm only 20 years old. So pretty young, but still kind of old.
You're young.
So like when I was younger, I obviously watched a lot of boxing growing up. And so thinking that was the only style of real fighting, obviously watching professional wrestling and thinking that is wrestling. So when I was about 8 or 9, there was this TV show on Spike TV, which I don't even think is a channel anymore.
I remember Spike TV.
Called Bully Beatdown. And it was a TV show. I probably shouldn't have been watching it at 8 years old. Now that I look back at it, but and I was never bullied either. So I don't know why I loved this show so much. But the premise of the show was they would take people's bullies and they would get beat up by professional mixed martial arts fighters in a cage. And it's crazy looking back on it, because I think when I was young, right, only knowing boxing and only thinking punches is fighting. I'm seeing them on the ground, wrestling, choking each other out and stuff. Yeah. And then also the fact, I remember one episode, this big muscle guy was the bully, And it was like the skinny guy was the professional MMA fighter. And I vividly remember being like, oh man, I don't know. He's pretty big.
Yeah.
And then that pro MMA fighter whoops him up. So I was like, man, it's not all about, I'm the skinny. I'm only 5'5". I fight at 115 pounds. So I'm not a big person. And I definitely wasn't a big person then. Yeah. So I'm like, man, these little people can beat up these big muscle dudes and no scratches. This is awesome. But at that time, women weren't at that level in the UFC. So that was kind of a dream that it was there. The dream was there and it was super cool. But I was only 8 years old and there was no women in it. So it's kind of those push it to the side and let's see what else is out there for me. Yeah. And then, Ronda Rousey obviously blew up and brought women's MMA to the map. And I was like, Mom, I remember I was a basketball player. My dad was a professional basketball player. So of course I played basketball. So I remember my junior year going into my senior year of high school, my last travel ball season, I pulled my mom to the side and I was like, Mom, I want to fight. I've never had a detention, never been in a street fight. So to my mom, this came out of left field. Yeah. She was like, what? And so I'm like, Mom, no, like it's this. I don't want to go in the street. I want to learn how to fight and stuff like that. So Rhonda's base was a judo base. Yeah. Yep. There's no judo in my area. So my mom's like, I know this guy named John Burke, who's my head coach now. He's actually, I don't know how much you know about MMA, but he's Hoist Gracie's first black belt.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Brazilian jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah. So jiu-jitsu. And I'm thinking, I want to do judo. Rhonda's whipping up people with judo. What is this jiu-jitsu stuff? Okay. So I tried it and I got hooked and here we are today, but all because of that TV show.
Wow.
So you're at a basketball game and everybody's like, oh man, I can't wait till she, go to college and just play basketball. And then you go, hey Mom, I want to fight. And your mom's like, fight
exactly. No, I know. And the crazy thing is, I think people expected me to be a great basketball player. Yeah. I sucked. I was I was terrible. I mean, I was not a very good I'm 5'5". So
yeah.
I have a joke with my dad. I say, I was good at every part of basketball that didn't have the ball. Once you put the ball in, it's like
that was it.
I could run. I could talk on defense, but I couldn't shoot a leg, couldn't dribble. So.
Oh man, you had some big shoes to fill.
Yeah, and I mean.
That wasn't shoes. You wasn't feeling that 5'5".
No.
No, but I love it because you're able to see something young. And I remember that show, Spike TV. I remember Spike TV, and just being able to see something and be like, start having that passion is kind of building up and building in you. And then having the courage to be like, hey, Mom, this is what I want to do. And then I love, I mean, you didn't mention it, but it kind of came out in a relationship. You had a relationship with your parents where they were like, all right, well, we'll explore it with you. Right. And we'll try to find whatever resources that we can tap into. So there's something that you can learn. So there's always something about when people, they say they want to do something, right? But then when you get out there, it's like, what the heck did I just sign up for? So like tell us, like when you first got into it, your first, I know the first practices, they weren't hitting you or anything, but when you did get that first hit, you're like, wait a minute, what in the world? Was it like, were you taken back? Like, wait a minute, is this where I should be? Or were you excited even more?
I walked into the gym and the first thing I said to John, I said, hello, how are you? I said, I want to fight. And he was like, pump your brakes. You don't know how to fight. I never, like I said, never been in a street fight, never been in nothing. And I'm like, I'm coming in here, 17-year-old kid. Well, I think you can do whatever you want when you're 17.
Yeah.
Coming in, I want to fight. He's like, I'm going to teach you how to fight first. So I just put my head down and grinded. And when he said I was ready, But no, I'd never wrestled, and jiu-jitsu is like a lot of closeness and all up on you. So at first, right, you're all up on these. I train with grown men. So I'm all up on these grown men. At first, it's like a little weird, but now, you get used to it. And those people, it's like family now. But I love it when new people come in and we're all on each other, sweat drips into your mouth. It's a lot. And you see the people's faces and I'm like, you'll get used to it. But at first it was like, this is like, I'm carrying people's sweat on my shirt and stuff, but I'm like.
and did your parents ever come and watch? So they're like,
So my mom was like, so I think the reason why my mom let me do MMA kind of training, because I kind of tricked her in forming it and being like, oh yeah, like I'm going to college next year, so maybe some self-defense and stuff like that. And so I kind of phrased it in a way where
it's like, you're right.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah.
Self-defense.
And so I remember she came to one of my first like intense trainings, and she's like, what the hell are you doing? Like, what is grown man but no, it's interesting. I picked an interesting career.
Yes. So just to let you know, I'm in the Marine Corps. I'm a Marine. So we do.
Thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you for your support. So our martial arts, the Marine Corps martial arts program is called MAP. It's a mixture of Brazilian jiu-jitsu, boxing, Krav Maga, everything, right? So the wrestling portion, I can attest to that, man. I remember when coming from New York, we love boxing. We stand-up fighters. We like stand-up. So when I got to the Marine Corps, I had to put somebody in my guard, and you have a grown man in your guard, and he's lit. Right?
It's different. It's weird. I love watching the people walk by when they walk by the gym, because the way our gym is, it's in between a bar and there's a smoke shop. So you get some interesting people that walk by, and they always looking
like what?
Guys choking, we're choking each other out and stuff, breaking each other's limbs, and we're all laughing and stuff. But from the outside in, or if you've never done that before, it's weird.
Yeah, it's weird. And I'm gonna tell you, I don't know if you ever fought a real wrestler, like somebody that was in high school and come up. So when I'm fighting a wrestler, they know counters to everything on the ground. It's so frustrating. Tell us about your learning process with that, and how you taken that, because and before UFC, there was a lot of ground fighting, but now you have standing up being more prevalent than the ground fighting nowadays, even though you have to know that. So how do you work that mixture to make sure that you have everything that you need to be a striker and a ground fighter?
So when I was starting, my base is in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, which is like the ground game.
Yeah.
So that's where I spent most of my training. So my first fight, I did I maybe had 3 months of striking and 2 years of ground game. So my first fight, I was like, I better not get hit, because I am not comfortable getting hit like this. Now, obviously, that's changed, but to me, the ground stuff is easier because I think I put more time into it. Like when we start kicking and stuff, I like boxing, but kickbox, no. But that's definitely a balance, and it's interesting going against different people who have different bases, because everybody does stuff different. In basketball, I guess in basketball too, there's a million different combinations, but in MMA, there's so many different variations. And so my coach made it a point not to train against people, but train against principles. Because if you're principally sound, right, you can, no matter who you face, if you know, okay, I need this person needs space in order to hurt me. Don't give them space versus, man, this dude's huge. I don't know what I'm going to do or this, that, and that. So the principles don't change. The people do. And we just fight the principles.
Oh, I love that, man.
I love that. That's a life lesson. That's not just a martial arts lesson. That's a life lesson. You see people with finances,
I'm writing
the
that
principles
one down.
don't change. Oh, well, you're writing that down, Rick?
I gotta write that down. Principles. Oh man.
Yeah.
I know I'm in college, so I'm a business major in college. So a lot of the stuff he says, I like take to my school and I like present speeches and I'm like, oh, da da da. And they're like, this is good. I'm like, yeah, but
I thought about this myself.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm this deep. I'm this deep. I go under a tree and I think about these
things. No, and I'm not. I'm like the least cerebral person ever.
Yeah, hey. Well, listen, I'm going to tell people I came up with that one, so just letting you know.
It's all good. I stole it. You steal it. It's fine.
Exactly. The funny part is when you tell it to the person that you never met before and they're the one that actually came up with it, you're like, yeah, you know what they're saying I came up with? We fight against the principle. Like, dude, I came up with that. But yeah, no. Go ahead, Marlon.
Yeah. So I know a lot of females, you guys train with males and then you fight females, right?
Yeah.
Talk about that different because I'm going to tell you, from I'm also a martial arts instructor in the Marine Corps. So a lot of times the guys will underestimate these females. Y'all are vicious.
I prefer going with men because you get a woman in there, man, they're trying to rip your head off. And I'm like, you're supposed to be working with me on the same team. But yeah, no. I think since there's not a lot of women in the martial arts sphere, especially in the MMA sphere, like the women who are in there, they're serious. And they're not, this is like, and super nice, but when we step on the mat, it's like, game time. Intense.
Yeah.
And I will say working with the men has its benefits, right? Because obviously men are stronger than women. That's just the way it is. So working with somebody who's stronger, it forces you to know the technique and know it to the point where you don't have to use strength. So in my last fight, so I fight at 115 pounds. That's my normal weight class. I don't walk at 115 pounds. I'm like 139 pounds right now. It's kind of heavy, but I cut down to 115 pounds. So my last fight, I fought at 135 pounds. And I was able to do that because the techniques, I don't necessarily have to be the bigger person because I've trained with those men and I'm always the smaller person. I'm always the nail in the hammer nail situation. So I'm comfortable being the smaller person. And I think that was why I was able to walk out with the win, because you go against these people who are used to being that person who's always the hammer, always the bigger, always the stronger. And you can technically break them down. It makes it so much easier. So going with the men, it has its advantages and disadvantages.
Yeah. Hey, people, if you're watching this, you can pause it. And she's all smiles and nice and all that stuff right now. Go watch her last fight. She is not.
She says when it goes into the cage, man.
She transforms when she goes into that cage.
Yeah, it's focused.
It's interesting because, like, for example, my last fight. So we get to the weigh-ins and we step on the scale, and my coaches made sure that I never fight with anger, because he has a really great saying: you fight with anger, it can never last long. Right? Your why and why you're in there. If it's an angry reason, you get hit in the mouth, you'll go down. So he always made it important to me that this is fun and she's going to punch you in the face because it's her job. So don't get upset about it, And I get to the weigh-in and, the girl's beating her chest, getting big and stuff and all that. And it's, it's, I get in the cage, I do it because I love it. So it's fun. Like, so I'm in there and it's just like, I never want to fight from a bad place. So everything I do comes from a good place. So I'm smiley like this in the cage. It's just different.
Yes. Yes, different.
I just like this.
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw you put a whooping on her. She wasn't beating her chest. She wasn't.
Man, they were like, she's gonna kill you, this and that. It was her home turf, her home crowd and stuff like that. They're supposed to say that, but I'm smiling at the end after the fight, like all happy and stuff.
Yeah, no, I love it. They before we started recording the show, we asked you a question about training. I want to give people some perspective of like what that dedication looks like to, compete at the level that you're competing at. So how often do you train? What does that look like for you?
So I train at least like most of the time, six days a week, at least 2 times a day. I'd like to get 3 times a day, but I'm a full-time college student. So I, during the week, I do my classes in the morning and then I'll train at night and things like that. So at least 2 times a day. And depending on what we're doing, it's intense or it's not intense, and it's like technical learning. But it takes a lot. And it took a lot. Now it's great because I get to have a reward. I get to go in the cage. Like I tell everybody who's at the gym, the cage is the easy part. We do the hard stuff in the gym. We're working. It's nice because you're in a team and everything's together and stuff like that. But that's the hard part. Yeah. And when I started, I just trained because I didn't want to go out in the cage and not be ready. So I just put my head down in the sand and trained for like a year and a half. Just couldn't get me off the mat at least 3 times a day. Train intense, like running outside and drilling and stuff like that. And so I could just be ready. But no, it's intense. Like today they were coming at my head. I was like, I just fought, guys,
Yeah.
Ease up on the punches a little bit, but I'm coming at their head too. So it's fair game. But no, it's intense, but it makes the fight so much easier. It makes it so much easier. Just not quitting in the practice.
I love that, man. I've heard someone say, practice like it's a game, so that in the game it's like practice for you. And
you stole that, Rick. You stole that,
bro. I stole it. I did. I heard someone say it. Right. I got at least 2 more times where I say I heard someone say it. Then it becomes mine. Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
But a lot of the the younger generation coming up now, they are looking forward to the lights. Right. They want the lights. They want the cage. They want the court. They want the field. But they don't want what it takes outside of that in order to get there. Right. But then they get disappointed when they can't compete at a high level on the field or in the cage or whatever it may be. Like, so as you're saying these things to me, I mean, I'm loving the fact that you're imparting that wisdom on the people that you're working with, because it's a necessary part of the process, right? And if you don't dedicate yourself outside of the cage, there's no way you're going to be in the cage at all.
No way.
Yeah.
And I will say, MMA is like so great because I don't know anybody who's not going to train and go out in the cage in front of all those people and get their butt beat. Like there are no lazy people in MMA. That's the thing. So
yeah.
In basketball, I will say I didn't train hard. I never did anything outside of basketball. I hated it. So I that wasn't my thing. So MMA though, yeah, and you can hide in basketball. You can't hide in a fight. There's no. I can go up and down in basketball all day, and you not pass me the ball, and you'll never know I can't shoot a lick. But
yeah.
You push me in the face, and you'll know if I trained or not. So yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about. I mean, I have 2 directions I want to go in this, but I'm gonna go this way first. Talk to us a little bit about. You say you're a full-time student. Right. What are you studying? You said business, but tell us a little bit more about like kind of the journey, what your aspirations are in your studies, and what your goals are around that area.
Yeah. So when I told my mom I wanted to fight, I was thinking that was going to be a get out of college free card. You know, I'm going to be a fighter and this and that. And she's like, exactly. And I'm a good student. I've always been a good student. I enjoy getting things done. So I enjoy that aspect of school. That's never been an issue, but you know, it's school and stuff like that. And she said, you could do it, but you just have to get your degree. So that was a promise that I made to them. And it's definitely helped me so much because I think the stereotype is that MMA fighters are dumb and that we get, I think a lot of times we can get used and manipulated because we don't know that business side of the game. And so, you know, I'm getting my business management degree and, you know, I know the business realm, you know, in that sense. So it's definitely helped me. And then, you know, after I fight, I want to open up my own gym and train people myself. I think that would be awesome. So just having that thing on paper that says that I can do that. I value like, you know, real world. I think you learn more in the real world than in school, but not everybody thinks that. So you kind of need that piece of paper.
Correct. Yeah.
That's just the truth. I have my MBA and I don't use half of this stuff. Hey, parents, I'm not trying to.
Hey, no. I tell my mom, I'm like, I've never used Excel in an MMA fight ever, but I'm here. I've never used it, but I have on my LinkedIn like a Excel badge or a certificate. I've done like enough. I'm like Excel master. So I've never used it in MMA, but
it's there. You got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, the other question I had was more towards expectation, because the more and more you're sharing in your story, I'm kind of piecing it together without you mentioning it. And but so you say, you know, you didn't really love basketball, but you didn't start MMA until you were 17, right? So that means I'm jumping on a lot of assumptions here, so correct me if I'm wrong. There were many years that you were playing basketball, but you weren't really into it. You know, you said you were playing travel or whatnot. That's not like rec league. That's actually going out and playing with some serious people. You know, like expectations. Were you trying to live up to something just naturally because of the family, or was it something that you in the beginning and you did kind of like, and you just kind of fell out of love with it as you was going along? Hey, you're listening to the Success Journey Show. Just a reminder, follow us on our social media at The Success Journey Show on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Also, you can check us out on our website at thesuccessjourneyshow.com. Enjoy the rest of the show.
You know, I never liked basketball. I tell people I've watched enough basketball.
I can imagine.
Yeah. For a lifetime. Yeah. Like, I mean, my basketball IQ is high. I just can't do it. But I can think it. Okay. Exactly. And that, I mean, I never thought that I would, like, I think people thought that I was trying to fill my dad's shoes, but I knew I could. I mean, I'm 5'5". I can't dunk. You know, it was like, I think it was more hurtful for other people. I vividly remember like going to games and they'd never seen me play before, and they'd be like, "Oh, my daughter wants to go in the WNBA just like you." And I'm thinking, I don't want to do that. And then they'd see me play after and they wouldn't say a word. I'm like, I probably burst that bubble. But no, I think it helps too. My grandfather was a professional football player. Football. So my dad kind of went through what I'm going through currently with the sports and the father. And I was never like, my dad, I played like soccer and softball growing up. I kind of fell into basketball. Yeah. I really liked my high school coach. He's an amazing guy, Coach Al, and he actually coached the travel ball team as well. And the team was awesome. Yeah. I won two state championships, so we were pretty good. But
oh man, state champion and everything.
Hey, I was state champion and this, not in that. But it was a good team, and I like the team aspect. And I also think basketball taught me a lot about life, like playing. When you get to that travel ball, like situation, everybody there wants to play at the next level, except me. I was the only one who didn't want to play at the next level. I remember my coach sat us all down and said, why do you want to play? And everyone's saying, go to college, I'm like, it's just fun, like I like getting up and down. But everyone wants to play. Everyone wants to play at next level. There's only so many select things and so many select seats at that next level. And a lot of these kids that we played against, this is their only way out. So and they're looking at me like, who is this girl who sucks, but her dad is this and that. So just learning how to compete against people who this is it, and having to match that intensity, like having to have a reason why to be there, and I think competing against that it's helped me a lot in MMA.
I love it.
Yeah.
So now with MMA, right? And I of course, just like we said, assumptions. I'm figuring you want to go all the way. You want to be I don't know if you look up to Amanda Nunes and all these. So I'm figuring that's the height that you want to take it to. What's your projection, or how fast are you trying to get there, or what are you doing in order to get to that level?
Yeah, I mean, I tell people all the time, I want to get to the top of that mountain. Like MMA is a mountain, and it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And I think some people want to rush me to get to that top of that UFC. Obviously, there's a lot of interest in my story. It's interesting. It's different. So people want to make money off of that, and I get that. But you only get one shot at this. So having good people in my corner, my parents, my coaches are great at. When I get to that level, I want it to be because I'm ready. I don't want to be at that level, and I'm only 20 years old. Yeah. So like my last fight, I was the youngest person on the card by 6 years. So I'm like, people are trying to rush me. I'm 20 years old. You only really get 10 years of MMA. Professional MMA, that's just the way it is. So to retire at 30 when women are hitting their peaks at 32, 31, it doesn't make sense to me. But, when I'm ready, I want to be ready, and I want to know. I'm definitely not ready for that, for the UFC yet. And I know it. I think that's a good thing. I think some people don't, and they want the big show, and then they get there and it crumbles. And I have great coaches and stuff like that, but I'm taking the steps. So yeah, I mean, pretty much I'm an amateur right now. And after that you go pro. And then once you go pro, you kind of fight at the circuits, and then you get that call up, or you get an opportunity to fight at one of the major leagues. Obviously, fighting in the UFC, right? Saying you're a UFC fighter, that's like the biggest organization in the world.
Yeah. But
there's other organizations out there too. Yeah. But my goal would be to be in the UFC. I think that'd be awesome. But there's the UFC is getting some good competitors. That's
yes,
what
it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I watch a lot. I'm a I love boxing. Boxing is my first. Of course, basketball, then we'll come back boxing. And then and then MMA. But the thing about MMA is like, they don't do like boxing where a fighter doesn't fight a good fighter for years. In MMA, like every Saturday, you're guaranteeing you're seeing top ranked people fighting each other. And that's what I love. And that's what I love about it. That's what I love about it. Now I'm gonna talk. I like where you went with something of people trying to exploit your story and making money. How? Of course, you have your support system that navigate through that. But how do you pick and choose when to make that right move? And rhetorical question, but I just want to hear the answer.
Well, I think growing up and watching my parents, navigate their lives and their stories and things like that, I've kind of picked up on, I think I have a good base in that.
Yeah.
And you know when people are trying to, get something from you or something like that. That's just growing up with having parents, having my dad as my dad. I mean, people trying to be friends with you so they can get to them. So it's that's a part of it. That's a part of my life. It's all I know. So it makes this easier because now it's like, oh, can I the people would reach out in my email and say, can you hook up my dad? I'm like, no.
No.
No. But
Okay,
you
so
can email him. You can email him, but
Yeah.
But,
yeah. So do you watch outside of MMA fighting, do you watch like martial arts or any other like different styles of movies, the Jason Bournes, the Bruce Lees, like I that's what I grew up on. So when I saw MMA coming around, I was like, oh man, they're actually doing this in real life, on TV,
So the interesting part is everybody at my gym makes fun of me for this.
Yeah.
I've only seen maybe 10 movies my whole life.
Really?
When I started training, never seen Rocky. I saw the first Karate Kid. I didn't remember it. So never seen Bloodsport. None of these movies I've seen. I went to Philadelphia and did the Rocky steps before I saw Rocky. So I'm like, why is everybody here? And my friend's mom was like, just do the steps. You'll appreciate it later. But I was like, I don't know what this movie is,
Yeah.
So now I'm starting to watch them and things like that. And I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. But no, never watched any movies. Like wasn't really big into movies growing up and things like that. But I watch boxing. Boxing. I watch some kickboxing. It's tough to find good kickboxing on TV.
Yeah.
The last boxing match I watched, bought the pay-per-view, was the Tank Rolly fight.
Ooh, that was a good fight. I love Tank. I love Tank.
He's great. And my granddad's from Baltimore, so he Baltimore, represents. So he's good. And that was a great finish.
That was a great. People underestimate. A lot of people just only talk about Tank's power, but they don't understand that he can box.
Yeah, no, he made me a believer that day because it was interesting to see because a lot of the time his power is the thing that is on display. So it's interesting, Rolly being so much bigger than him, how he was gonna move his feet and create those angles, and he did it perfectly. So
that knockout was
pretty, and I didn't even see it coming. It was
bang! I was like, oh, when I saw Rolly fall over, and Rolly only, we know Rolly's front, but he's trying to say that he wanted to fight. I could pleading his case, I could still fight. When he was walking out the ring, he was still
he was dazed, and that's the thing. I feel like he was. I mean, Tank's. I think he's like 29-0, and Rolly's, that was his 14th fight. So that comes into pushing too soon. Maybe it would have been a different fight if Rolly got some more fights in and stuff like that. But man, he got that knockout was crazy. I was like, I hope that never happens to me.
So I see you like boxing. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna just talk a little bit about what about the Spence and Crawford fight? Would you like to see that happen?
To be honest, I really don't know who those people are. I think I know who they are, but Errol Spence?
Yeah, Errol Spence. Yeah, you know.
I know who they are. Yeah.
You know who they are.
Yeah. That'd be cool. I really I got to get close with Riddick Bowe and his people. He actually came to my last fight. So watching the old school heavyweight, that's more my thing. I'm kind of a white belt in new boxing. I really only know Tank and some other people.
Yeah.
But
that's the same thing with me.
I'm like, I don't know.
I'm an old school boxer guy. After Roy Jones, That was it for me. Roy Jones Jr. I haven't followed boxing since then.
I like Canelo. Canelo's obviously, but I know. I mean, was Spence the one who was talking the mess on Twitter?
I think it was Crawford and Spence. Yeah. But yeah.
I mean, that'd be a good fight if they don't, if they don't like each other. That's always a good fight. But I'll have to watch that.
Yeah. So talk about the defensive portion of your fighting. A lot of people they look at the hitting and they don't look at like, especially when you're on the ground, I can't give this arm. I have to keep this arm close to here because I know if I put it out, I'm going to get an arm bar. I don't want to get triangle choke, whatever the situation is. Talk about that defense that you have to, what you're thinking about, all that's going on when you're fighting and you're trying to position yourself into being the superior person on the floor.
Yeah. So I tell people who just come into the gym that MMA and Brazilian jiu-jitsu, which is the base that we train mostly in the gym, it's physical chess. Most of the time you're not going to be able to outmuscle or outspeed or do any of that in the thing. And there's windows, right? So every position has a window that's counterable, and everything that you do should be easy. This is the most cerebral I'm going to get. But having that patience to wait for that window is definitely something that takes everybody a long time, but took me a long time as well. But like training that, I think everybody is used to being, right? My coach says, I don't have to teach you how to throw a punch. I have to teach you how to get away defend it. So everybody knows how to be a hammer, but not everybody is comfortable being the nail in the situation. And that's what I love about Brazilian jiu-jitsu, because in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, it's designed for that nail to defeat the hammer without needing muscle, without needing strength, but using technique. So trusting the technique, especially on the ground, is so vital. And once you do that, it's like you start pulling. I pull cross side I'll sit on and lay on my cross side and then just take the back. I'm like, people think it's a joke. I'm like, I'm not tricking. No, you can take them out. Yeah, why not? Yeah. But just getting comfortable there. And then obviously in a fight, you're getting hit, but you train without the hits first. Not everybody's getting in the cage. So
if we talked about a lot of different aspects of things that you got involved in, things that you're doing now, like what would you say fighting has done, being trained in fighting has done for you the most? Like what was the biggest advantage for you as an individual, Myla? Like, because I'm now in this space, I've become XYZ. How would you answer that?
Great question.
Oh man, it makes everything else in life so much easier. So much easier. Like I have around my people who aren't training and fighters, I always make the joke, this is worse than getting punched or this is better than getting punched in the face, because it's true. Like if I have stuff I'm worried about or anxious about, I'm like, at least I'm not getting punched in the face. And it just makes everything everything else in life is easy, because if you can do that, and I mean, the only thing that all animals do is eat, sleep, poop, and fight. So it's in our nature to fight. And if you can fight, then everything else that you do in life is like, this is cake. So I think it's made me more of a confident person. I think my confidence and my other abilities have improved, and more secure of myself.
Yeah.
I think when you're not trained, especially with men, I think it's a little different with women, but if you're not trained, if you don't know how to fight, the men I've talked to, the men who come to the gym, they say, I feel so much more secure with myself because now I don't need to, be that tough guy or be that person in the room who's, I don't know. But I feel a sense of that as well, being secure with myself and not needing to prove anything to anybody, because I get in the cage and get punched in the face and punch people in the face.
Yeah.
Man, I can so relate. Yeah, I always tell Ricky, I could be in Iraq or Afghanistan right now. This is nothing.
No, I wouldn't. I'm not doing that. So that's worse than getting punched in the face. But in my life, nothing's worse. But
no. I'm telling you, it's equivalent when you because you're saying to yourself, I'm gonna train, I'm gonna walk in this cage, and somebody's gonna throw a punch in my face, and I'm either gonna get hit or I'm gonna dodge it, and I'm gonna have to respond. And then, so when you have stuff that's happening in life and you see people complaining about it, you're like, that's not okay.
Yeah, get punched in the face. Go in the cage. And then,
No, I love that answer, man. I love it. Yeah. Now, so you're not that person that's walking around. Like, has there ever been, this is a funny question here. Have you ever been in a situation now where, you walk around, no one knows who you are. You say you're 5'5", woman, you're walking around, you have this confidence, and then you just get challenged just a little bit. And like tell us an experience of how you reacted to something like that, if it ever happened to you.
Oh man. People will like if I'm driving or something, or people get mad and road rage and stuff. Women, I'm like, you're a 65-year-old woman. You shouldn't be, road raging on anybody. You never know, especially I live in Florida. Everybody has a gun here in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
So people are crazy.
Yeah, I'm like, you're lucky you got me because I'm not going to do nothing,
Yeah.
I tell people my favorite hobby outside of fighting is building Legos. So I'm never in a scenario, right? I am not a fighter like outside of the fight. I don't even, my coach trains people who don't want to fight for the street. So a lot of the times he's like, do it how somebody in the street would do it, right? Who's not trained. And in my head, I've never been in a street fight and I'm never going to get in a street fight.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not, because I would be like, what? Why are we fighting in the street?
Yeah, come on, that's not a cage,
right? I don't know. So nobody. I mean, people may have looked at me weird and stuff like that. I think I just kind of brush it off as people having a bad day or something like that. But I'm usually not in situations where I'm getting tested. Nobody in the board game club at my school is trying to fight me. So.
You go to what? What's it? Orlando, UF?
I go to Rollins College. It's a small liberal art school in Winter Park. Our most famous alum is Mr. Rogers.
Oh, okay. Who's the people in the neighborhood?
I say that, and people are like, "Oh, okay." So he's our guy.
Yeah, that's your guy.
I used to live in Kissimmee. Awesome. And then I used to live down in Wesley Chapel, New Tampa.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. I live like 20 minutes. My school's like 30 minutes from Kissimmee. Kissimmee's really close. I like that fair. And they have those food trucks in Kissimmee.
Yeah, those food trucks are great. They're famous. They're good. They will get you overweight, so you stay away from them.
Yeah. No, I can eat.
She said, I train 6 days a week, man.
No, I eat. When I'm not cutting weight. Oh.
Talk about that cutting phase. I want to hear about that, how you cut, what kind of dedication, because 15 pounds, people think, it's 15 pounds, but it's 15 pounds.
Yeah.
This water weight.
Yeah, it's, so when I cut to 115, it's an interesting game cutting weight, because you don't want to cut too much too soon and have to hover. That sucks, but you don't want to be behind the 8 ball. So I really don't have to, I can drop weight pretty quick. The only thing I really do is change my diet and change how much I eat. Yeah. I eat like a madman when I'm not in camp. Not bad stuff necessarily, but a lot.
Yeah.
Like I think after my first fight, I told my mom I'm never leaving a scrap on a plate again, because I was never starving. And when I experienced what it's like to be starving, now I'm like, I'm never taking it for granted again. Like when you get sick and you can't breathe through your nose.
You're like, yeah.
I remember when I could breathe. So like, I'm like, I'll take 2 hamburgers, or I'll take 2 cheeseburgers. That's fine. But in the cut, I really changed my diet. I'll do like low carb. I don't necessarily count calories, mainly carbs. I think in real life, I eat a very carb heavy diet just to keep me going throughout the day.
Yeah.
So once I get to like 50 carbs or less for like the 2 weeks before my fight, I can drop a pound a day, 2 pounds a day.
Gotcha.
And change, like, I'm from the South. So instead of drinking a sweet tea, I'll change it for a water, just making those
little small
habits.
Yeah.
And then the weight, I'd say like the hardest pounds to lose are the last 3.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to lose those last 3 in that last day before the weigh-in. And that's just like, we'll cut, I won't drink any water 24 hours before the weigh-in.
Yeah.
And so all the water that I've had is excreting and sweat and everything. So every time I spit or something, it's pounds off. But it's you get used to it. I've had 5 fights this year cancel. So going through all that weight cutting and it not happening, but gaining the experience of the weight cut.
Go through the process,
right?
Yeah.
Like this last fight, it was I didn't have to cut any weight, so it was fine. But
yeah.
But I feel good on my next one. I have to.
Yeah. No. I'm the opposite. It's harder for me to lose the first 3 pounds in order to. The first 3 is the hardest. I figure once I get to that first 3 pounds lost, then the rest is going to be easy.
It's downhill.
I just can't get to that first 3.
my thing is like it comes back to the not wanting to go into the cage unprepared. Yeah. Like nobody likes it when somebody shows up to a weigh-in and they're like 15 pounds or like my fight. I had a fight September 10th up in New York. We get all the way up to New York. They call us the night before the weigh-in. Hey, she's 20 pounds over.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, you could have called us legit 6 hours ago before we hopped on this plane and got all the way up here. And so we were like, can she try to make the weight? No, she had to go to the hospital. So nobody likes when that happens. It's unprofessional and stuff. So I think that motivation of I better lose this weight or else I'm going to be that person.
So she doesn't forfeit and you get the W?
Mm-mm. I didn't get anything.
Amateurs? Okay.
No. And I didn't get any pay. Nothing.
Oh, wow.
They paid for our expenses to get up there and the hotel, but wasted our coach's time, my parents' time, everybody's time.
Yeah. Because I was just about to do a prediction. I was going to ask you about that because the prediction is I saw your first fight, what they have on record was of course you fought before that, but October 29th, 2021, and then you fought October this year. I was going to predict I should see you in the ring for another fight next October, but it looks like they just keep on canceling. I think people are scared of you. I think that's what it is.
The thing is, I'm not scary. Like, I don't think I'm very scary. I hope not, because I'm not a very scary person at all. I shake hands at the weigh-ins, I smile and stuff. So I hope that's not the case. But yeah, I was supposed to fight this year in February, April, June, August, September. And then I found the fight that I just had 2 weeks before the fight. On Facebook, they were like, we need somebody at 20 pounds heavier than my normal. I was like, okay, my coach, Ryan, I was like, let's do it. Might as well.
Wow.
2 weeks before. Well, so you stay ready because you see, that was Floyd's, to me, that was Floyd's secret power. Was no matter what he did, Floyd Mayweather always was in the gym. He didn't have, how some fighters, they have an off time and they get real big and then they have to work back down to the size and then they go to train. If you keep on consistently training like that, then you could take a fight on 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Of course, depend on the styles, but notice.
Exactly. And I will say, grappling especially is and striking too. Grappling is like a sport that you kind of have to do all the time just because of the timing. And the basketball, I wasn't really trained in basketball, but you could pick up a basketball 20 years later and throw it in the hoop and still have a little bit of, it may take a little bit longer, 4 or 5 shots, but you'll get the shot in. the longer you take off of grappling, the worse your timing gets. So it's like, you know.
I feel you.
Yeah.
But hey, listen, Myla, man, this has been great. I mean, we usually ask a series of questions that we ask our guests towards the end of the show here. And one I want to ask you is, it's a little different, actually. I just thought of this one, Marlon. So
you didn't steal it from no one.
No, I didn't steal it from anyone. No, this one's mine, right? And because just listen to your story, I'm just really impressed, and I'm really just glad just to hear this your journey, and just not just your journey, but the presence that you command, and just your aura, just everything is just so positive. I really enjoy it, and it's a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you.
The question I'm gonna ask you is, we usually ask our guests to go back 10 years or whatever it is, and ask, but you'll be 10 years old.
I know.
Right? They would say, I don't want to. We talked about what your aspirations are. You said, you wouldn't want to climb the mountain and everything. I want to ask you this question: what is your mantra every morning when you wake up? Like, what is that thing that gets you up in the morning? What's that thing that comes to mind to you that really gets you going?
Ooh, I think my mom. Like what drives me in the
what drives you? Yeah, what drives you? Yeah, every day. I know you have you have your goal where you want to get to.
Yeah.
You have your dreams around there, but like every day, like what is it that drives you?
I think just the love I have for my life. Like when I was playing basketball and things like that, I felt not necessarily from my family, but felt like I was living somebody else's dream. And now I got to, once I shifted my life, made a complete 180, I feel like now I'm living my dream. So I feel blessed that I'm able to be in this position where people wish and hope and pray that they can be in the position I'm in. So I wake up every day like excited. I wake up every day 5:30 in the morning, like clockwork, ready to get up and start my day. Because I'm just... It's like a blessing, and I think what drives me is I feel like one day my best could be the best. Growing up, my dad would always say, "Do your best, do your best." We just expect your best. If your best is what it is, and as long as you did your best, that's fine. So I think that one day, my best could be the best. So I think that pushes me in the gym, pushes me in everywhere. And not necessarily winning a belt. That doesn't motivate me. I don't fight for belts. I fight so I can have my best be the best.
Hey, Rick, you stealing that one too?
I'm going to leave that one with Myla. I'm going to leave that one with her. That one, I love it. I'm not going to steal that one from her. I like that one. So I heard Myla Hill say one day, 20 years from now, I heard her say one day, I just my best can be the best. Yeah.
Get on your knee. Talk about, you got to be, one day your best will be the best.
Nah, love it, Myla. Listen, man, we are so grateful that you stopped by the Success Journey Show to spend some time with us. Thank you for sharing your story, your journey, just the route that you're traveling, right? And we wish you so much success along this journey. And we all know, as we talked here, it's not going to be easy, but we know it's better than getting sometimes it's going to be better than getting punched in the face, right?
Right. Yeah.
You know how that feels. Marlon knows how that feels. I don't know how that feels. I've never been
But getting punched in the face can be fun. So it's like,
I'm going to punch him in the face.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, there we go.
The black eye, I punched him in the face.
Hey, man, didn't I tell you I did some MMA classes, man? I know how to defend myself.
You never know.
my Muay Thai. Put up my shin pads. I got to get my shin pads on first before we start. So, but thank you so much, Myla, for joining us, man. We wish you nothing but the best. And to all of our travelers all around the world, we want to thank you for tuning in for another episode of the Success Journey Show. We will see you guys next week at the same time in the same place. Everyone have a good one. Peace.
Thank you.
Peace.
You've been listening to the Success Journey Show, where your dreams, drive, determination, and diligence are the foundation to success. For more information, check out thesuccessjourneyshow.com. The Journey Squad is here helping you to your destination.